preventable and curable, right? And for as long as I can remember, the most effective way to reduce mortality rate of malaria among children is through preventive measures such as insecticide, treated nets, seasonal malaria prevention, and the provision of real-time life-saving messages for prevention. So can you talk about the burden of malaria here in Nigeria? Because, you know, from the statistics I read earlier on, they said 90% of malaria cases in the world can be found in Africa. Sometimes it feels like it's only in Nigeria you hear about malaria. So can you speak to it? You know, talk about the burden of malaria and its impact on individuals, families, and communities. Please go on.
Okay. So Nigeria being the most populous African state in Africa.
Yes.
5,000 malaria deaths occur in children under 5
years
every year. And this is because of the high cost of treatment of malaria.
Sure.
We know that even for an average individual, anti-malarials now, the least you get are usually above 1,000.
Yes.
The poverty rate in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized.
True.
Bulk of our population are in the rural community.
Absolutely.
So if we in the urban community are saying anti-malarials are accessible but they are not affordable at a price of maybe 1,000 naira and more, then talk more of the people in the rural area. It will cost more because you have somebody has to take it from the cities down to the villages, and it will cost them more.
Yes.
So instead of even taking care of the malaria with the right drugs, what they do is that they use traditional herbs, use other concoctions, and you tend to lose a lot of children from malaria.
True.
As simple as it may sound, but even here in the urban areas, we have children dying from malaria.
True.
For us to have this huge amount, number. And even if you don't have a child dying, malaria is known to cause complications like cerebral malaria, which in the long run for some kids, it can lead to other sequelae. People that have cerebral malaria can come down after, if it's not treated properly, they could have complications of having seizures, anemia, meaning they have low blood volume in their systems. And you also have to, these are just some of the excesses that can occur from not treating not treating malaria.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr.
And also,
yes, go on.
Okay, so we've seen that it's a burden, and then financially too, malaria is something that is difficult, is expensive to treat for an average individual. So I think preventive measures, if we have any, and gladly I think you'll talk about that. We've had one now. It's the way out.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I was going to actually broach that to say some prevention measures for malaria. Of course, it's almost like even in primary school we can recite it now. Insecticide treated bed nets, indoor spraying, it's like a song here in malaria.
Yes.
So, but how important is early diagnosis and prompt treatment in malaria control and elimination? Is it even possible? I know I've asked someone, about a few years ago, I asked someone, I said, we live in the tropics, because if you go to somewhere like Canada, they will not talk about malaria. Mosquitoes will not thrive in those regions. And that's so when we talk about the control and elimination of malaria, we know it's not possible. But how important is early diagnosis and prompt treatment? How I know the doctors tell you often, but I'd like you to say that again, especially because today is World Malaria Day, right? So please go on.
Yes. So it's very important that individuals, now we can concentrate on everybody, children and adults. Yes. Not every fever is malaria, but when there's any fever, that you should suspect malaria because you're in the tropics and it's one of the commonest causes.
Yes.
So not just saying that, why we say not every fever is malaria, because we've had other diseases being underdiagnosed.
Yes.
So, but it's very essential that once you have those symptoms, please present to your doctor so that now there's a rapid diagnostic test that can be done. That's aside from the microscopy. This takes just a few minutes because a lot of times Nigerians do not want to waste even 10 minutes in the hospital. Yes. And for the microscopy, it might take you like 30 minutes. So there's a rapid diagnostic test that can be done to really know whether you have malaria or not. And we want to discourage just going to pharmacy malarials over the counter. Yes. Most times people do not take their completed medications, and this has led to a rapid in resistance and anti-malaria drugs.
Yeah.
It hasn't been researched, but here where I work, in a day you see patients that you probably saw them on Monday. By Wednesday they are back, the same symptoms, and you checked initially, there was malaria parasite in their blood film, and you check again by Wednesday, there's still another malaria parasite in. So what it's just saying is that there is a resistance to the present gold standard medication, which is the artemisinin combination.
Yes.
As ACT. But this is Nigeria. We've not really done the research, but I was trying to see if I can do something like a local one, just keep records.
Yeah.
And we're also discussing in a medical group, a WhatsApp group, and like doctors. And five give their own personal experiences. They had to take 2 anti-malarials for the malaria parasite to really be eliminated.
Really? So that's like a combination therapy? Yes. Like a combination therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
No, after taking like a single dose of a combination therapy, okay, examples are like P-alazine is a combination therapy. Okay. Then Coartem is another group. So you have sometimes people will have to probably they've taken P-alazine or they've taken Coartem in the beginning, but the malaria parasite is still there.
Yeah.
All that it's showing is that there is an ongoing resistance.
Yeah.
To anti-malaria. So we still employ people, please, if you have symptoms, present to the hospital so that early diagnosis and prompt treatment. As we say, you do not want any individual to die or have complications from malaria, since it's easy. Yes, it's easy to diagnose and treat. So we will continue to emphasize early diagnosis will prevent complications that could arise from malaria.
That answers that. So, but I want to take you back to, what you said a few minutes ago, because, it's like I said it earlier on. In Nigeria now, every ailment is first malaria before any other thing. Yes, so when you go into the pharmacy in fact, we already know the drugs to even buy. We'll tell the doctor, I want so, and so, so if you mentioned that the combination therapy, resistance to combination therapy. So what happens, I think what we should do often, which is why we have radio shows like this, so that, because people will listen to radio for music, but how about you listen to radio for your own health, and how the right information can could just change your life for good. Why go and buy one? Is there a way to regulate pharmacies and for them to keep record and say, okay, this person bought so malaria tablet a few days ago, why do they still suggest another one? They say, doctor, I've already taken this one. And it's the pharmacist that will even suggest, okay, why don't you try this one? How do pharmacists play a role in this, and how can we regulate them such that this week there's one new malaria drug and say, oh, try this one? How is there nobody to regulate pharmacists themselves, because it's almost as if they are culpable in this fight?
No, there are regulatory bodies that do it, but as we know, there's just need for everybody to be on his toes and know that if you do not do your job, you'll one way or the other be affected. And it's also good that, the pharmacists know that, yes, you are out there to help the sick. Yes. Do not put it that, you're making money or making the funds should not be your primary aim, which most times,
is the case.
It is a business, you understand, but you should not make a business over the life of an individual.
Yes.
You get?
Yes.
So you should be able to, once you see, you cannot just go and buy, once a drug is not over the counter, and over the counter are usually analgesics like paracetamol.
Yes.
In fact, very strong analgesics are not over the counter. You cannot buy ampiclox, amoxicillin over the counter
anymore.
They are not, but no, not here in Nigeria.
Exactly, because I wanted to say.
So these are regulations that should be made
in Nigeria.
Drugs that are over the counter, should be over the counter. Antibiotics, anti-malaria they are not over the counter. You need to have made a diagnosis for you to treat with such drugs, because these usage of drugs are part of what is causing the resistance.
True.
Given that some individuals do not complete their medication, some do not take it accordingly, and all this, before you know it, there's a resistance. So regulatory bodies should ensure that over-the-counter drugs are specified and you keep monitoring. We all know the way we do things in Nigeria. If you come today and you do not come back, they will go back to status quo.
Exactly.
If probably you put rules there, they started, maybe they're abiding by it. These people will not come again now. They will just continue doing what they're doing.
Yes.
If every Nigerians are living abroad and they know that they cannot get amoxicillin over the counter, and they follow the normal route. They go see the doctor and get a prescription. So there should be regulations that if anybody doesn't have a prescription for a drug that is not over the counter, do not sell. And that can only be done if there are regulations, and then these regulations are followed up.
But you see, that's the thing. I wish there was nobody's enforcing it. It's the usual thing. So it feels to me like the Pharmaceutical Association of Nigeria is PFN, right? They get away with things. Nobody's enforcing them. I remember, was it 2018 when the National Assembly, when there was concerted efforts across board to fight the use of codeine. Do you remember the cough syrup? Before they banned it from, now you will not find it. You will not find it over the counter. If you go to a pharmacy to buy, they will look at you first. They will ask you questions, and you must come with a prescription. You won't even find it. Yes. So why can't we do the same thing for anti-malaria? Why can't we regulate it like that? Why can't we? It's almost as if we know the right thing to do, but we just shy away from doing
it. They still don't feel like the harm it's causing. You understand? Compared to codeine was causing psychosis and all other mental disorders. So there's just need for us to not think about it, that it's nothing. It's just anti-malaria.
But you see, you're a public health advocate, and you see more malaria cases than you see maybe a heart issue.
Definitely.
Do you understand? Definitely. So it is prevalent as well. But we don't take it as serious. Go on. You were about to say something. I don't want to interrupt you. Go on.
No. I said definitely we need to see that any drug, once it's a drug and there's a misuse, it means there's a drug abuse. It doesn't have to be codeine, diazepam. It doesn't have to get a patient high for it to be called a drug abuse. A drug abuse is when you're using a drug that is not prescribed. Or it's prescribed, you're using over, or you're not using it for the purpose that it's meant for. That is already a drug abuse in a definition. So if you go and get drugs without a proper prescription, you are abusing that drug. And usually what I say is that in the medical field, everybody is important. So the pharmacists, the regulatory bodies, NAFDAC, we all need to come together to ensure that over-the-counter drugs are over-the-counter, and if it's not over-the-counter, you do not prescribe. Just so that we all have a healthy society.
Thank you so much. You've been listening to the voice of Dr. Rekia Gambo Musa. She's a senior medical officer at the Federal University of Technology, Minna. My favorite part is the public health advocate interested in health promotion and prevention. She uses social media platforms to educate the general public about health issues. And so that's why we have her as a guest on this show today. Today is World Malaria Day. The 25th of April worldwide is recognized and celebrated as World Malaria Day. It was instituted by the WHO during the World Health Assembly of 2007, an occasion to highlight the need for continued investment and sustained political commitment for malaria prevention and control. And so on the show today, if you have any questions whatsoever, Dr. Rekia is here to answer them, whether it concerns don't let me preempt you. Whatever questions it is you have, you can send us a message on 0818 22 22 206 or 0818. You can send us a message by WhatsApp on 0818 22 22 205. Dr. Rekia, I have to quickly go on this commercial break. When we return, we'll take up from where we left off. So we'll be right back.
All right. Thank you.
Call to Prayer is sponsored by the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول أشهد أن محمدًا محمد رسول الله حي على حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح لا إله إلا الله.
We teach girls shame. Close your legs, cover yourself. We make them feel as though by being born female, they're already guilty of something.
So I think right now we have the chance to be heard, and that's why we're doing it. We're all doing it because we're asking to try and elicit change.
No woman should sit down and allow a man to speak about her reproductive rights.
But it is about opening spaces for other women and not to be seen as token, and that because I'm a woman, I'm only speaking about women at the table. No, I'm speaking about side of the table that is empty, and the women have to be there. So
I want us to leave this world better than we found it. And how I choose to affect change is by speaking up, by being the first, and by being the dominant.
Over 4 billion of the world's population are girls and women, also faced with challenges that affect our world and contributing solutions to them. Let's have conversations and get some answers to them through their eyes and voices. Tune in to Perspectives, where we discuss important issues ranging from climate change, politics, health, the economy, and lifestyle on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Weekdays from midday. Perspectives. Conversations that matter.
It's 35 minutes gone past midday. You are still tuning and listening to Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. On the show today, we're discussing World Malaria Day, which is celebrated annually on the 25th of April. The theme for this year's World Malaria Day is Time to Deliver Zero Malaria, Invest, Innovate, and Implement. The theme for last year was, I think, End Malaria for Good, and you know, right? Yes, it was End Malaria for Good. So I still have Dr. Rike Kambumusa online, and I want to take you to another, I want to take you somewhere, which is, in fact, when I checked the calendar, I realized, it's World Malaria Day. I said, perfect. A few weeks ago, the whole world was agog with the news that the WHO has finally introduced malaria vaccine for the use in children between the ages of 5 5 to 36 months. 5 months to 36 months. Yes. Yeah. So I was excited. They said Ghana and now Nigeria have become the first countries to approve a new malaria vaccine for children aged 5 months to 3 years old, which is 36 months. So I want to talk about that. Everybody's so excited that, oh, finally, once I take the malaria shot, when I give my child, no more malaria ever and ever again. But what about my older kids? So there's a lot of questions to be asked. When will the vaccines for adults be ready? What about my children who are above 3 years of age? So who do we address these questions to? Well, our public health advocate is here. So go on, Dr. Rika, you were going to say.
All right. There has been a lot of work on malaria vaccines. I think one started last year, but it didn't pull through.
Absolutely.
But this was able to pull through because the efficacy levels is about 77%.
Okay.
Which usually the WHO says it should be more than 75.
Oh.
And and the phase 3 trial on humans was done in like 4,800 children across Africa. Okay. So there's still a phase 4. Usually when you bring out vaccines, it's a new vaccine, so you still have to follow up even when you've approved that it should be used. So the phase 4 now will still be done while it's still in So what I think the target is, we know the under 5s, which the 5 months to 36 months are among, they are the most vulnerable to malaria.
Yes.
So I think that's why the focus now is to start from this vulnerable group and then to a larger scale. The truth is, we can all see that in Africa, we're the ones that are suffering from malaria, but the initiatives are not even coming from us. It's coming from the
developed nations.
Yeah, who don't even have the problem.
Absolutely.
And so as we're talking now, in fact, what they're saying is that we're just expecting 100,000 doses from donations.
How are they going to spread that across the population of how many? How?
Yeah, and when that gets available, they will now work with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency to see that they get more.
Okay.
Because what they're saying is that they want to. It's going to be included into our routine immunization schedule.
Because I thought that would be the easiest way.
Because individuals will not be able to afford it sincerely. Most times these vaccines, if you're going to buy them, because I think I remember the HPV vaccine?
Rota. I think HPV is still free, but Rota and typhoid.
HPV is still free, yes, and then you see that these things are expensive and people cannot really afford it. We're still trying to convince people to take vaccines. That if they're going to pay for it, I tell you, they will leave us with our vaccine.
Absolutely true.
So, but I think one thing is that we should always be positive. This is a good thing. This one came around. Nigeria has approved it and has included it in the routine immunization schedule. Yeah. But as we know, usually what happens in health is sustenance.
True.
We'll start up things. We have, like, if you go down to Nigerian, you see there are a lot of policies, bills, very beautiful ones. Yeah. But implementation is the issue.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, the team comes in. Invest. You've innovated now. You have a vaccine. You need to implement it.
True.
So we're calling on, and one thing I want to tell people is that health cannot be left for the government alone.
No.
Yes, we know that they should share it, but there's just need for non-governmental organizations, like well-meaning Nigerians. You can do a lot. Yes, you can do a lot to help. We cannot leave it for government. Even when they say a particular maybe service is free, you'll find out that it's not free at the end of the day, or it's not sustainable.
True. So go on.
So what I just want to say is, yes, we look upon the government and we hope that they will keep to their words and work with the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, as 100,000 doses will not go. It won't go anywhere. So, but it's a start.
I know.
But we hope that it will be.
Exactly.
It's a start, but we hope that it is scaled through to the whole population.
Yes. So I want to still dwell on partnerships for a bit, because you raised a very salient point that these vaccines are not produced here in Nigeria. Remember during the COVID-19 era, where because I wanted to also ask that the success of this particular R21 vaccine?
Yes, the R21 vaccine.
Yeah. Was it a push from? You remember the during the COVID-19 era where everybody everybody was waiting for America, waiting for the UK to send in the booster doses, or the first.
Yes, because even this is from the Oxford University,
exactly.
But the main production, I think, is in India. It's an institute in India.
Yeah, Gavi. I think Gavi in partnership with Oxford.
Yes, in India does a lot of productions of vaccines.
True.
But and the good thing is, it's just that we're not utilizing our resources. We have both human,
exactly,
you understand, resources. We might not have really. Yes, we have. Nigerians are very intelligent people. You'll be shocked to find out that some of probably the people that worked on it are Nigerians.
Absolutely.
But because we don't have the facilities here, or our government does not promote these things.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about now. So we go to school, we get all these degrees, we're quite good, we're quite efficient in other parts of the world, but we don't bring that knowledge here in Nigeria. Remember during the COVID-19, I remember NAFDAC said they discovered something. Till now, we're waiting for the report on that. But because we never heard anything about it, became hush-hush. And of course, the next thing we hear, they're bringing vaccines.
There's no political will. There's no political will. When things come up, they try to shut it up because they're not going to gain from it.
I don't know why we even think like that in the first place. You mentioned something that gain should not be the first thing when it comes to life or health.
Yes. But as a whole, there's this negligence we have, like from the government, and then like from people that should
know better,
like have a say. Yes, that should have a say in the country.
Yeah.
The issue is we need to make rules like about, because they have other options and the masses do not have options. I think is one of the reasons why they do not take some things serious. Sure. When you know that, okay, if I just jet out now, I can go and get a shot and come back.
Yeah.
I feel this is part of the reason why a lot of things that are owned by the government are not being run properly, because most of our big shots have other options and they just leave us, the masses. After all, we're the ones that utilize it. Meanwhile, it is these systems that has brought them up. They went to the universities free of charge, with no tuition, with scholarships. You gain from these things, but you have killed it. So I'm just calling on, like, Nigerians should be patriotic. Don't say people should stay and repair it. We all have to put our hands together and like just contribute in your own little way. You might just need to sign a paper and say, okay, NAFTA, come and check this vaccine. Promote it. If you have the money to invest in it, please invest in it. You will get your money back at the end of the day. If we have a locally made vaccine, just think of how it's going to be.
Yeah. Do you understand?
It'll be easier for us than for us to wait for 100 doses that will not go anywhere.
Exactly. So honestly, you've touched on the what they call it. I was just going to go to the next place. Calling on individuals to get involved. Stop waiting for international organizations. We're not saying we can. Some of this, I'm even wondering why some of this. Actually, I know the answer to that. We have management sciences for health. We've had. I'm trying to remember some of these NGOs that have actually come into Nigeria, and they've often said, "Look, it's a partnership."
Malaria Consortium.
Do you understand? There's this global. I'm trying to remember their name now. They'll come to Nigeria, then they tell the state government and say, "You know what? Bring 20% commitment. We'll give you 80%. We will not be here forever, but make sure that you have your people on standby to take over when we leave this country." You understand? It often
and that's
just dies
the
out.
problem is the sustenance.
Why do state governments not take responsibility? Because I was going to go. I was going to ask you that. Why don't we go state by state level? If we start from the grassroots, then step up to the federal. But it's not like that. We often wait for the federal to. It's what is or in fact, what is coming from outside is more important. You mentioned something about your own small WhatsApp group where you do research here and there. I can imagine that one of the challenges of that group is funding. If you've gotten your research to a certain point, you're probably looking for funding to expand it, or I'm sure that's part of the challenges that you have.
Yes, but and another thing is I think Nigerians do not even know that there are opportunities out there. Okay. I was recently involved in a program that had to do with Nigerian Research Institute. Okay. It's in Lagos, and they're actually open to people bringing up their ideas. But I think probably there's need for more advocacy. There's need for more information to be out there. Like the one we went for, they're working on how to get women to be tested, human papillomavirus testing, and vaccination for women and girls.
Really?
So the opportunities, yes, the opportunities are there. So they were looking for ideas on how they will do that in a large scale. But I think people do not have the information, or is it that they do not search for it? So I think scientists, or if you know that you have any wonderful idea, especially scientific one, you can contact them, the Nigerian Institute of Research. I will confirm and maybe give you the info so that maybe if you have to have a platform, you can just put it there.
Okay.
If not, they are doing a good job. They are doing a good job. The professors that came, they are Nigerians, but they are actually working with St. Louis University.
Okay.
I think there are grants out there for people to work. Even if solely here in Nigeria you can't work on it, you can. It's like a collaboration. What they are doing.
Okay. So these are so it's the information that is not out there. So it's not like work is not going, but information is not reaching the people it should reach.
That's one of the problems.
Okay, so that's one of the problems.
Sometimes the information is there. Even here where I work, there was a time they said a lecturer, he found, I think he had something to do with either a malaria cure, but it got to a level, and the next thing they crashed the whole issue. There's also no local support, like even from your institution. You have that, I don't know whether it's a black man mentality. They just put it down. They totally put Diamond's ideas down, and people that actually knew it said there was hope in it.
So why didn't you take it somewhere else? You can take it somewhere else, and I mean, it's not bent on, except like maybe he was seeking government approval and they didn't give him, or he didn't go to.
Yes.
Okay.
Another thing is that whatever you want to do, you know that there will be challenges. You should not just give up on just one or two tries.
Yes.
If you ask people that have made it, especially in something like this, that you know that there will be hurdles, and you know the Nigerian system, you need to fight it and just see that you take it to the end and ensure that it's a success.
You've said it all. You've been listening to the voice of Dr. Rekia Gambo Musa. She's a public health advocate and a senior medical officer at the Federal University of Technology, Minna. If you have any questions whatsoever, just send us a message via WhatsApp on 0818 2222 205, or you can dial 0903 2229 797. That's on MTN, and on our Etisalat you can dial 0818 2222 206. Those are the numbers that you can call in to make your contributions. Because you think you have the answers to malaria, you can just easily get over-the-counter drugs. I think it is the most what they call that word now, where you don't take him for granted. That's malaria for you until you come down with the shivers and the joint aches, and you say, oh, I can easily walk into any pharmacy and just buy anti-malaria drugs. But I really look forward to when the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, they will put their foot down and not make, like you said at the beginning of the show. I think that's one of the things I will take home. But who can push them to do that, to say don't make malaria and typhoid? Everybody always has malaria and typhoid. I don't know.
I'm telling you, you basically have to fight with patients every day. And here I work with adolescents, teenagers, youths. In fact, I've had most of the quarrels I've had with students is because somebody comes boldly and tells me he has malaria and typhoid. And I'll be like, okay, did you run a test? No, I know it because this is what is wrong with me, and I just feel like they just shot me in the leg. They will be so angry. You are almost like quarreling with them. And that mentality has to go. If you go and check this typhoid they keep calling, it's a very serious ailment that if you have it, you cannot be working. It's an acute thing, but it's severe. If you're actually going to read what typhoid is,
exactly,
it's not as simple. It's not as simple as we make it sound.
Honestly.
And most times they will just tell you they did that test. I did without test. The without test is outdated.
Please continue. I like this conversation. Please go on. You know why? Because even when you go to the labs,
this is where things work.
Yes.
Without test is not gold standard.
Okay.
One thing we found out is that when you do a without test, it will not be able to tell you if your infection is actually acute. Even if the infection has been there for a while.
Yes.
It will show you that there's some titer because your body, probably you've consumed some the organism from contaminated food and water, and we know that even our water in Nigeria,
it's not purified.
It's not up to the WHO. Yes, it's not up to the WHO standard. Some coliforms are allowed because this is what standard we can maintain.
Yeah.
So when you now come and now say I did a Widal test, no. For you to really know if you have it, is for you to do a blood stool or a microscopy.
Those are the 3 ways.
And yes, when you do that, they'll do a microscopic culture and sensitivity.
Yes.
Meaning that they will culture and see that they've seen what's the name? The organism.
Virus. Okay, go on.
That causes salmonella, the salmonella typhi, which is the organism that causes typhoid. Did they culture it? Yes. Did they culture it in the blood or in the stool? After they cultured it, the sensitivity means what medication is likely to work. When you see sensitivity, that's what it stands for. So the blood culture, the stool culture, those are the things that are really the gold standard. Widal's test is outdated where things work. We still do it to help us, but sincerely, what I do these days, I try to limit my giving people antibiotics just from a Widal test.
Results, okay.
And with this rise, there's a rise. Well, I won't say rise, but these days you have people coming down with renal failure, that's kidney failure.
Yes. Okay.
And I think the way we use drugs might be part of the reason. So there should be a clear diagnosis of any ailment before you treat. Yeah. Endurance should just be careful on that.
Yes. So thank you so much you've just the conversation has just taken progression to where I wanted it to go, which is really about the abuse of anti-malaria drugs. We have a call, so I'm just going to let you talk to this person. Hello, good afternoon. Citizen FM, please go on.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my name is Patrick.
Patrick, great to have you on the show this afternoon. Dr. Rekia is on the line, so please go on and address your question to her.
Good afternoon to the doctor.
Afternoon, Patrick.
She was saying something like Nigeria, like if you have a feeling of symptoms of an illness, you just assume that it's malaria, and you go to the pharmacy and get malaria drugs. That's what all of us will do.
Yes.
I'm guilty of it. So there are some days you just feel as if you are not feeling fine. You're having this fever, headache, and go to the pharmacy and get malaria drug, and you take it for the next 3 days. If you take it, you feel fine. So should if I feel fine, must I go to the hospital and run a test to check if possibly maybe it's not malaria alone? Is it necessary for me to go and get tested
before you take the drugs? Yes, go on.
No, after taking the drugs, after you take the drugs, you will feel fine. You feel fine. So maybe I need to go to the hospital again. Is it necessary? That's number one question. Then secondly, I think we should look for other ways of preventing malaria from infecting Nigerians. I think this there is what they call treated mosquito net that they distribute.
Yes.
I don't know how effective that one is. I think we should look for better ways to prevent malaria. That's just what I want to say.
Okay.
I think the word of
thank you very much.
Beyond this mosquito net policy and other things.
Okay.
So we should look for better ways to prevent malaria.
All right.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you so much. All right, Doc, over to you.
So as Patrick has said, the good thing is that even in the pharmacies, some pharmacies can carry out this rapid diagnostic test.
Yes.
Like it's very fast, 5 minutes. Most pharmacies do it.
Yes.
So instead of you to just, because we've had patients where yes, they took the medication, they got better, but apparently that was the beginning of an ailment that they didn't take. How will I say? Their body was trying to compensate. So yes, and then they being Nigerians, probably there was some malaria parasite, and when they treated, they felt better.
Yes.
But subsequently, when maybe 2-3 weeks afterwards, the real symptoms came. So if at that point in time, that person was picked up, probably he won't come with a more severe form of the disease. We know that it's a common practice, but we're just trying to encourage ourselves. If we reduce the number of people that take this, I think we've made progress.
Absolutely.
We cannot convince everybody to stop doing that sort of habit of just going to the pharmacy. Yes. But I think two things we're going to achieve is that we're going to change the the idea of people, and then we'll be able to diagnose some other ailments early.
Yes.
Because that's one of the issues we have in Nigeria, and that's why the health system is always being bashed.
Yes.
Most Nigerians come to you when they are very sick, when the disease is chronic.
Yes.
It's just the difference we have with the developed world. You have a headache now, they already have a CT scan, they'll do a CT.
Immediately.
You have a headache, yes, you have a headache in Nigeria, you have a nose bleeding, you ignore it, and God forbid you're having an aneurysm. I had a neighbor that had that. He did for years, he just was saying he was hypertensive.
Oh dear.
Suddenly he came down with like partial stroke.
Oh no.
Before we knew it, he had an aneurysm, and he's late right now. But if initially that his headache was taken serious and a thorough, because the neurosurgeons wanted to operate, but at the point he presented, they were not sure if he would survive.
50-50. It was a 50-50.
Yes, so also is a lot of ailments. So what we're saying is, yes, there are times that we know our hospitals are the staff are overworked. So you will go there, you probably have to spend a lot of time. So people see the pharmacies as a shortcut, and that's why we need to work with them. Already, that, as I said, a lot of them do these rapid diagnostic tests. So you can also ask for it. Yeah. Most pharmacies do it now. So before you take the medication, it won't take you, it will just take you a few minutes. They swipe, they do it, and they show you. Yeah. If you even have some of the knowledge, you see it whether there's the malaria there or not. Because the truth is, muscle aches, headache, sometimes can just be that you're not well hydrated.
True. That's that.
Yes, you have muscle ache, you have headache. You notice that if you rest well, you take analgesics,
you feel better.
You take enough fluid, it disappears. So what are we saying? It means that there is some form of over treatment or mistreatment, if I might put it that way.
Yeah, of malaria.
But so those are things. And then, as he said, yes, we need other options.
Which is what you were talking about research earlier on. That are there ways
research. There should be research. We should have our own local vaccine, so that it will be, even if it's going to be it will be more affordable than bringing it from somewhere else.
True.
And then, even if it is going to be free, it's going to be easier for the government to just fund the research.
Exactly.
To the point where it is now. Yes, if you fund the research, that's all. You can even also sell to other places.
Exactly.
You can also make money from it.
There are so many ways to even go about this thing. The fact that there's even in our budget money that is often allocated to research. Then of course there's step funds. There's all these things. But the money they usually use it to build infrastructure. But nobody is funding any new discovery, any new way of helping us to live wholesome lifestyles. But to also add to that, Patrick, we live in the tropics. I don't know if we can totally ban mosquitoes from living with us here. But, the mosquito-treated nets, which is what he said nobody's using nets. Please, don't listen to Patrick. Women should still sleep on pregnant women, I beg your pardon, should still sleep on the mosquito-treated nets. Sorry, Dr. Rika. This is where we have to wrap up today. I've taken up most of your time today, but I look forward to having you on sometime soon again. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And yes, I'll follow you up on those the information you mentioned about having access to research. I will follow up on that.
All right.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Bye. So it's a wrap on Perspectives this afternoon. I hope it was everything that you hoped for. Well, for me, was a fantastic one to have Dr. Rekia Gambo on the show today. So it's World Malaria Day. We've talked about pretty much everything from research to the impacts. To the most important thing that we talked about today was the importance of early diagnosis and prompt treatment in malaria. I like the fact that she said sometimes we overtreat because all you might need is just plenty of water and rest and you'll feel better, but you have already gone to the pharmacy to get anti-malaria drugs. So please, let's do the needful. Do a test first before you treat yourself. Join me tomorrow on Perspectives for another enlightening and informative episode. It's now up to the news on the hour. After this break, we'll be right back.
93.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a